WBAP. The Dallas ISD is voting on that today. It's in reaction to a bill that went through the Texas legislature last year, Senate Bill 11. And it doesn't say they have to. It doesn't say they can't. It says they're just supposed to vote on it, and the deadline's coming up. So I was playing how it was reported here. And the first thing you should ask yourself isn't whether or not you agree with the religion or the act of prayer itself. Which one gets better results? Right? Which one gets better results? The schools that allow prayer or the schools that forbid prayer? The schools that include a religious, spiritual aspect or the ones that totally shun it? Which one gets better results? So I like this conversation because now I don't want to just like pull one example and play it for you like I did in the last segment and act like that's the totality. This is a Texas issue. Let's go around the state. Let's go up to the local ABC affiliate, Channel 7 in Amarillo, and see how they report on it. See if they even bring it up.
Senate Bill 11, Amami Molina, the Amarillo Independent School District Board of Trustees has voted not to move forward with a resolution tied to Senate Bill 11, a state law that allows voluntary prayer and religious text readings in public schools. The bill required every school board to decide whether they will create such a period, and that decision had to be reached before March 1st. President of the Amarillo ISD Board of Trustees, Doyle Porter, says the trustees considered the current policies and determined there was no need for the policy to be enacted. He says that the district is already faith-friendly.
Our students can pray when they want to pray. One of our trustees shared a scenario where a group of students that might be stressed or something would just gather up and pray. There's nothing illegal about praying in schools, and we say that a lot. There's as long as we have testing in teenage relationships, we're going to have prayer in school, right?
The trustees also expressed concerns about the requirement that parents had to sign a consent form for their student to participate. There were worries about how that information from students might end up in the wrong hands. In Amarillo, Abby Molina, ABC.
Okay, so no, nothing there. Let's go to a TV station in Austin, KVUE. They did a minute report here. Let's see if they bring up the actual merits or the results or the effect on the children and their education when they argue for or against it.
New this midday, Liberty Hill ISD Board of Trustees unanimously rejected setting aside time for prayer in its schools. Districts across Texas must make that same decision, must decide on this matter by March 1st. It is the result of a new Texas law, Senate Bill 11, which allows school boards to adopt policies setting aside time for voluntary prayer and the reading of religious texts. Student participation requires parental consent. During the item's discussion last night, trustees pointed out students and staff already have the right to silently pray, meditate, or read religious texts in schools. Board member Chris Neighbors says the policy would put undue pressure on the district, especially when it comes to guidelines regarding privacy during prayer. Staffing needs to monitor those spaces and extra paperwork for parental consent forms.
The caveats, the rules, the gotchas, all the things in this bill spell maybe disaster is an overstatement, but it's not when you're looking at maybe millions of dollars worth of lawsuits. I mean, just all of the different stuff, all the junk and baggage that comes along with this, it just absolutely does not make sense.
Yeah, see, I disagree with this because people like me who disagree with this will give us a hard time if we do this. You're saying we shouldn't do this because of people like you disagree with it and you're going to sue and there's going to be all kinds of paperwork and there's going to be all kinds of hassle. Never in their explanation on why they don't want to do this, they'll say this will negatively affect achievement, academics, test scores, the conduct, behavior, discipline, results, morale, none of that. They don't actually give you reasons to be like, oh, I don't know, this might be a lot more work for us. Ken, Arlington, you're on WBAP.
Can't there be just stand up and do a silent prayer? Everybody does whatever they want to do.
That's what this is.
And it should be. I mean, and, you know, if there's atheists there that get offended, even atheists believe in God.
Well, no, they don't. That's kind of the definition of atheist.
And an atheist believes in God is because if God didn't exist, they wouldn't hate. I know broccoli exists, so I hate broccoli. So in order for an atheist to hate God, There has to be something to hate, and they hate God because it exists.
I mean, I hate Lex Luthor and he doesn't exist.
Well, everybody's got their thing. But if
All
there
right.
wasn't a God,
But Ken, I think this is a silent moment, and I'm not even sure if that's what it should be. I mean, what is your proof that that works better? What gets best results? Are there schools that do that? And again, I would like to go back to my starting position. If we didn't have public schools to begin with, if we just rearranged society like I wanted to, not only would we not have this problem, you'd have about $400 a month less to pay on your mortgage because how much of that is property taxes, school taxes.
well, but I mean, there should be stand up and do a silent prayer, as long as it doesn't offend anybody. I'm not saying that everybody stands up and does a silent prayer, and then you take the Muslims
But why
and put
do
them
you?
in a gym.
My point is,
And
why
you
do you
can't do
choose
that.
that? Does that get better results? Is that better for the academics? Is that better for morale? Do you have a body of work to choose from, or does that just sound correct?
No, and the reason why everybody's saying that there shouldn't be prayer in school is because you have 300 different religions in the United States, and it's going to offend somebody.
Yeah, but that's not a good reason to not do it.
No, well, I understand that, and that's what their argument is. That's why they're taking a vote on it.
Yeah, well, I know, but I'm not asking you what they think. I'm asking you what you think.
I think put everybody in a gym and you sit there for 10 minutes. Whether you're a Muslim, you're an atheist, you're a Christian, and
Ken,
Christian is
this all
is a
sounds
big
very
umbrella.
arbitrary. Well, like, why 10 minutes? Why in the gym? Why? Or do you have a body of evidence? Like, do you have an example of a school that's doing this and they get better results?
A private Christian school. Because they pray every day.
Yeah, but they pray at their desk and they don't go sit silently
Right.
and let
And
a million religions do a million different things just silently for 10 minutes in the gym. Take the schools that are getting better results and do what they do. Sometimes it's a prayer that comes over the intercom. Sometimes it's a prayer that's led by a teacher. Sometimes it's a prayer that's led by the student. But these are the discussions we should be having, not like, well, I don't know if we can do this because someone like this bald-headed guy in Austin is going to get offended. I don't care if he's offended. If it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do, whether or not someone gets sand in their panties or not. So that he's wrong. The guy that says, well, we can't do this because we'll get sued and it'll be a lot of paperwork. That's the wrong answer. The right answer would be, well, we can't do this. We tried this in some other district and scores went down and behavior. You got to have some sort of body of evidence, not what you think will be right, not what sounds right, not what will offend people the least. I don't give a damn if they're offended if they're wrong. Like if I say 2 + 2 is 4 and someone's offended because they think it's 5, that's their problem. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to take one of these schools, split them in half. One side does the prayer, one side doesn't, and we'll see which one has better results or if there's any change at all. What do you think about prayer in schools? More examples coming up from Texas Media. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. Look, if you got to repaint your house, that's going to be expensive. You know what you can do if you get Rhino Shield? You can finance it and get a low monthly payment. So you think paint's cheaper, but really Rhino Shield's easier to afford. Because is it really cheaper if you got to come back in, 5, 6, 7, 10 years and you got to do it again? And if you know you're going to be in that house for a while, you're crazy to not at least go to rhinoshieldDFW.com, have Gary come out, show you what is actually going to happen, because there's a lot of prep work that goes into the house. The actual Rhino Shield is a 2-part process with 2 different kinds of space-age technologies. Gary will explain it to you. And if you like what you hear and you want to move forward, mention the James Show. You get 15% off. And if you just ask Gary nicely, he'll help you finance that into a low monthly payment. So really, you can't afford to not get Rhino Shield. Go to rhinoshieldDFW.com. Dallas is voting on prayer in public schools today. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And the state legislature passed a bill, governor signed it last year, Senate Bill 11, that says each school district has to at least vote on the idea of setting aside some time during the instructional day devoted to prayer. It has to be religious, non-specific. You can sit there silently. You can either pray or you can read religious text. Some schools are on board. A couple of them here in North Texas has already approved it. A few more have turned it down, and it seems to be a pretty mixed bag. It almost seems 50-50. I'll be interested to see what the numbers are next week because the deadline is this weekend on having the vote. And I'm going to report to you next week on how many of them approved versus not approved. Now, the thing I find frustrating about this debate is the absolute lack of critical thinking, the absolute lack of any evidence, facts, or reasoning when it comes to why people are making these decisions, for or against it. They're against it. Well, the first question I think we should ask is, for the schools that do allow prayer, do they get better results than the ones that don't? Well, the answer is yes. So I think that's where the conversation has to start. Do you have a better reason than that? Isn't that the whole purpose of schools? Isn't that the whole purpose of schools? Number one, to have education, academics, test scores, SAT scores. What are we arguing about here? Whether or not someone gets their feelings hurt? That's a pretty poor reason. The delicate sensibilities of a child should not dictate curriculum, especially if that curriculum doesn't get better results. If you let the kids pick, they're just going to sit around and eat Kit Kats all day and play video games. Is that what's good for them? No, you just don't like Christianity, and you don't have a good argument against it. Jim in Grapevine, you're on WBAP.
Yes, sir. And I think your reasoning is totally right-wing Christian biased. And no, they should not allow prayer, especially when you're talking about Christian prayer, in my public school.
Why not?
Well, first off, it's public, and the government is not here to encourage or discourage a religion. You're here purposely encouraging your Christianity. Now, yes, you can say you can sit there and do nothing. You can pray in Islam if you want. But what you are pushing is a Christian belief, and that's your beliefs. It's not a scientific based on anything other than your Bible. So no, I don't want you pushing your Christian beliefs in my public school. Private school, that's private. But my government dollars should be paid for education, not on a mythical belief on a being up in space that guides and knows everything you think, which is not based on anything but a simple book. I want nothing to do with prayer in school. Now, a time for reflection, you can call it what you want, but as soon as you call it prayer, you're pushing it to be Christianity, and I don't want that pushed in my school. Whether I'm a Christian or not doesn't matter. I don't want that your beliefs, anybody's beliefs, as opposed when referring to religion, pushed in any public school.
Man, now, I disagree with you, but I am sympathetic to you in the fact that, if we didn't have public schools and everyone just got to pick and choose their own schools, you would actually have the option to go to a secular school or to fund a secular school, whatever you want to do with that. And you wouldn't
No, our government dollars go to public school.
Right. I'm just saying if I had my druthers, there wouldn't be public schools and we would all just pay for it and go to whatever private school you wanted. And so you would have your way, I could have my way, and we wouldn't have to clash. I think that the reason we're clashing isn't because I'm right or because you're wrong or I'm right. It's that we forced ourselves into this prepaid government monopoly where one of us is going to be disappointed at the result.
That you got to have a basis for education, which used to be...
Which one gets better results? That's my basis.
Well, but your results, you just made a statement, too, earlier that I don't hear any data backing it up that said you get better results from schools that have prayer. I doubt that.
That's an easy Google. Go ahead.
No, it's not an easy Google. You got to have the data to back up that all those schools, and you got to have a very careful study when you do that, because if you study only those Christian all
right, what has better SAT results from their graduating seniors, Jesuit or Lake Worth?
That's a very small.
I know, but you can extrapolate it out. Just work with me here. I'm
No,
working with you.
No, you can't. That's no, but no. I'm talking about thousands and
All
thousands.
right, listen,
of
let me give you
schools,
another
tens of
example then.
thousands of
Let me
schools.
give you another example because we used to have prayer even in public schools. And this
I
came.
know. I was raised it.
Hang
I
on a
used to
second.
have.
I'll turn him down for a second. So this came across my social media feed a few days ago. I tucked it aside in case this comes up again, and it finally did. This is an 8th grade examination for Bullitt County schools in Kentucky, November of 1912. 8th grade. You tell me if prayer in schools was getting a better result or not. How about we do one of the arithmetic problems, okay? Here it is. At $1.62.5 a cord, what would be the cost of a pile of wood 24 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 6 foot 3 inches high? Right. I can't do that because I don't know what the dimensions of a cord of wood are, and I'm a grown-ass man. Here's another one. Let's go to geography. Locate the Erie Canal. What waters does it connect, and why is it important? Listen, this is in Bullitt County, Kentucky in 1912. The population of Bullitt County, Kentucky in 1912 was a little bit over 9,000. Like the biggest town is called Shepherdsville, and that's not a joke. It really is called Shepherdsville. And the town names are hilarious. It's like Bunnyfoot and, I don't know, Cowpie. But these backwoods, underfunded, no utilities having, hick kids were having a better educational experience before this giant public school monopoly garbage that we have now. When it was all private and when the parents were in control and when the government didn't have to tax everyone's property and send it to these people, look at what better results you were getting. I have all kinds of evidence on my side. You just have your feelings getting hurt because you don't like Jesus.
No, not the feelings. This has had nothing to do with feelings. But yeah, I have to agree with you with the public education to the fact that the Department of Education never have existed. Education is a local thing, but public education has standards. And we've dropped those standards lower and lower and lower. But it has nothing to do with being able to pray in school. The prayer in school is
But Jim,
totally
what gets
side
better
effect.
results before we had public schools, when we had prayer in schools, or now?
Well, we're talking about public schools as opposed to prayer in schools. Those are two separate subjects. And prayer is not making school better. Trust me. It's the Pledge of Allegiance.
No. The opposite's true, Jim. You can't say that. The absence of prayer has made schools worse.
No, I disagree with you 100%.
Well,
I
there's at
disagree
least a
with you.
correlation there, if not a causation. You have to admit a correlation.
Well-
Admit a correlation. We took prayer out of
No, I
schools.
can't
Results have
admit a
gotten worse.
correlation because you're using a completely unscientific motives to correlate those two. You can't do that.
I know, but
There's a
no,
lot-
that's causation. I'm saying these two things happen parallel. Whether one caused or had any effect on the other isn't proven. I'm just saying they both happened at the same time, right?
It maybe because we had a Department of Education that was not.
And that's why,
responsive
there you
to the
go.
locals.
So you finally admitted we have worse results after we removed prayer from school. I don't think you and I are that far apart,
Didn't say
Jim.
that. Didn't say that. Don't say. Nope, I did not say that. I'm trying to tell you that there's other.
Okay, so
causation.
before we took prayer out of school, did we have better results?
At what time did we take prayer out of school? Because depending
You
on
tell
what state
me.
you're in, I was raised with prayer in the school, even though I didn't know what was going on when I was a kid. And now I don't know what the actual date was, but the Department of Education didn't come into 80 something,
77.
and so 1977, very
Something like
close.
that,
And then that's when I got out of college in 77. So that tells you my education background.
Okay, so you're
things-
saying that we had better results before we took prayer out of school.
Did not say that.
Dude, it's self-evident.
No, I said
You've admitted it in
No, it's
4
not
dozen
self-evident.
sentences.
You're trying
Why
to-
can't you just say yes?
No, because you're not relating two things that are related.
I'm not
You're
even
trying to
saying they're
say-
causal. I'm just saying they're correlated. I just want to see if you can actually just admit that we don't have good
Not
results. We have worse results since prayer came out of school.
Prayer has nothing to do with it.
Do we
Not
have
a
better?
damn thing to
How
do
about
with
this? How about do we have better academic results now or 100 years ago?
it. As to 100 years ago,
Yeah.
better now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Better now.
Yeah. Our 8th graders are smarter now than they were 100 years ago. I just read you the test. 800-288-9227. The phone lines are packed. It's going to be all that coming up next. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I think I'm going to go pray in a public school right now. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WPAP. Wasn't that a great caller? Let's just keep that going. If you're just joining us, the big story here is Dallas ISD has to vote today. In fact, a whole lot of school districts in Texas are voting today because Senate Bill 11 that was passed last year says school boards have to vote on whether or not to allow a time of prayer in their school day. And I don't think it's going to be a whole hour. It sounds like it's just like when we say the Pledge of Allegiance and then we get the announcements and then we'll just stop down and have 5 minutes of silent time. Okay. Some people are for it. Some people are against it. I stand on my base position is that this is a problem with public schools. And if we just got rid of public schools, then no one would have to force their way on the other person. But other than that, the real question should be what gets better results? What's the schools that allow prayer versus the ones that shun it? Do they get better test scores? Do they have better behavioral issues? And if that's not being brought up, why not? And if it gets better results, why are you still against it? You just hate Jesus? Because it doesn't sound like you're doing this for the benefit of the kids. Gilbert in Dallas, you're on WBAP. Hey, Gilbert.
Yes, sir. Hey, that last caller, I got to compliment you because you did an outstanding job at debating that guy.
Yeah, hey, round of applause for me. That's so fun. Thank you. It's so good to hear that because I wonder, give myself 7 points. I wonder if it sounds as good to y'all as it does to me because I thoroughly enjoy that because I'm a little brother and I love antagonizing and poking at people when I know I'm right and they're wrong. Right?
And the thing is, you hit him with like just the common sense and statistics. And I got to compliment him on his discourse. He was not rude like so many people against that sort of thing would have been, but he was just so wrong. I mean, you hit him with the facts, and he still could not admit that there's not a correlation between religion and higher test scores. There absolutely is. And what I was going to say is that as a local consultant in Dallas, I took on 2 clients running for DISD school board. This was way back in 2010. And I said, I will go to work for you pro bono if you put this on the platform. Vote for me, and I will reinstate corporal punishment in DISD. Both of them was a no-brainer. They said yes. Channel 8, CBS 11 both did the stories on it. And at the end of the segment on WFAA, they said, we want to know what you think if corporal punishment in schools is a good thing or bad thing for DISD. 95% voted in favor of it, but guess who voted against it? The school board. They said, not on my watch.
and such is the immorality and unethics of public schools, period. It's just baked into the cake of any social program. Phil in Temple, you're on WBAP. What do you think, Phil?
Oh, and again, I compliment you on your ability to handle that last caller. He just wouldn't admit it. Period. I was going to say he's okay. Doesn't want to have. He said it has nothing to do with religion, but he certainly had a problem with it being, and you sound like too. But I guess he's okay with having transgender story time and sexually oriented books in libraries. They don't say anything about that.
Yeah, it's clearly an anti-Jesus thing, and that's the perfect thing to point out too. In fact, I had that in my notes and I just skipped over it. So thank you, Phil. But yeah, it's always curious when they gripe about books being banned, like, oh, the conservatives and the Christians are trying to ban books in school libraries. Yeah, we're trying to ban the books that teach 8-year-olds about butt stuff, but you guys already banned the Bible in like the 1950s or 60s, or when was the Bible? I forgot when the Supreme Court case was, but they banned the Bible. That's a book banning, right? So we're not the original book banners. You guys are. And what are you banning? The Bible, like the most wholesome and holy and fundamental foundation of Western civilization. The books that Phil and Temple mentioned. Interesting. That is so interesting, Phil.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Do I have time? Yeah, I got time for one more. Lynn, Abilene, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think?
Well, I can't really debate with you because I'm on your side 110%. And what made me have the thoughts that I've got is I've got 2 grandkids that are in private schools, and they're 9 and 7 years old, and they're already speaking fluent Latin. They would not have ever been taught that in public schools. They need to just do away with the public schools.
Man, I'm so glad you brought that up because, Lynn, to get into Columbia when it was still King's College, like in colonial times and in the 1800s, really until we got all this public education, public universities and whatnot, you had to know Latin to get into college. Now, college is just 13th grade. It's just high school with cigarettes.
Exactly. I mean, the public schools have failed. Not us, but they have failed the kids that are going to be coming up.
That's what makes it so confounding, Lynn. You're right, I'm right, but we're having school boards all across the state right now vote not for what's best for the students, not what gets the best result, not the best academics, not the best behavior, not the best results, not the best test scores. It's just anti-religion, not even anti-religion, specifically anti-Christianity. Because they'll pass out headscarves at Wiley East. The same people that don't like this will pass out Qurans during lunchtime at Wiley East High School. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Karen Siegman. She's the president of the American Freedom Alliance. They're a nonprofit organization that's going to have some very strong opinions on this because they're all about defending Western civilization. You'll hear from her next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Texas school districts are right now deciding on prayer in public schools. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Senate Bill 11 passed last year that says by March 1st, every school district has to at least vote on whether or not they allow a time for prayer in the school day. And I don't think this is going to be a whole hour, like a homeroom class where you sit there for an hour and you got to pray. I think this is like going to be at the beginning of the day. You say the Pledge of Allegiance, you get the updates, you know, here's the headlines for the school and what you need to know, the announcements, the notices. And then what, a time of reflection, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to read the Bible. I don't know what exactly it's going to look like at the end, but we've had a nice little mix. There's been quite a few school districts in Texas that have voted in favor of adding that to their school day, and quite a few who have rejected it. The second biggest school district in Texas is Dallas ISD. They're voting on it right now. I'll probably have the results for you, if not tomorrow, on Monday, on what the rest of the state looks like. My next guest is probably going to have some strong opinions about this. She was recommended by one of my favorite guests, Evan Sayet. And when he said her name, Karen Siegman, I was like, wait a second. I think I already follow her on X. Turns out I do, because she was fired from being a public school teacher for pretty much just being a conservative, and she's turned into an activist since then, now working with the American Freedom Alliance. Welcome, Karen. Well, also, you're in California. But we've been enjoying this discussion today because, you know, this week, oh my goodness, we can't allow prayer in public schools. We can't. There's supposed to be a separation of church and state. Meanwhile, 2 weeks ago, they're handing out Qurans at Wiley East High School just up the road. And they're like, what? We're just being open-minded. Don't be such a bigot. Just being passed out. Yeah. Oh yeah, well, Ground Zero is north of here in Frisco, where 25 years ago it was 2% of the population was Indian born or of Indian heritage, and now it's 30%, a little bit north of 30% in the last reading. And some people are saying, "Hey, what's going on here?" Other people are saying, "You can't say anything about that, or you're a bigot." And we know that's not a real answer. And so, like, what do you guys do about that? You know, give us some advice out here. You're with the American Freedom Alliance. This is, you know, your cause. What is the common person listening? How can they help? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they hate dogs. It's proposed in New York City right now. New York City? Yeah. All right. That sounds great. I had no idea about this. If you go to dogsforfreedom.com, it just forwards to bansharia.com. And, and if you don't have a dog, gentlemen, you can bring a ham sandwich. I hear they hate those. Ladies, they hate bikinis, so you should probably wear a bikini if you don't have a dog. Or if you do have a dog, just double up. Yeah, and I'm just for religious purposes. All right, I got to run. I'm out of time, but it was so good meeting you. You feel free to call me anytime there's something we need to know about, because you're watching this in the background. I'd love to hear from you again. All right. Karen Siegman from the American Freedom Alliance. Coming up next, I have a lot of your neighbors with some hot opinions on a prayer period in public schools, because Dallas ISD is voting on it today. And the big question is, does it get better results? Shouldn't that be all that matters? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.